Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is yet another interview, and I have with me Haute Cosplay. Is that how you say the hot part?
Haute Cosplay.
Haute.
Everyone like mispronounces it, but it's okay.
Okay, Haute Cosplay. And so a couple of you remember I had been mentioning for a while I was going to be interviewing a Haitian that is also of Lebanese descent. So I thought that would be very interesting to bring us to my channel. As you all know, I'm Dominican, so Haitians are always a topic of conversation. So yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to interview you and just to get your perspective. So for those that aren't familiar with you, would you mind just telling us what your content is about? I saw on your Instagram you have like 20,000 followers, and you have a YouTube channel as well. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a cosplayer and a costume designer. That's pretty much my community. Cosplay is a community because there's a misconception is that it's like Halloween, you just dress up. It's actually way more than that. It's pretty much a community of people who are passionate about their different fandoms.
Okay.
And it pretty much transcends just being a fan of that content. People either it becomes more of like costume design or fan art or even performance art. And
Okay.
I really love this community. I've always been very artistic, and it's just pretty much an outlet for, everything I like to do.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. You're right. I mean, I'm guilty of being one of those people that usually associates it more with Halloween, but I mean, I guess it's something year round,
Oh
right?
yeah, it's 365.
Hmm.
My friends and what's funny is most people who cosplay, they have everyday jobs. They could be a nurse. They could
Hmm.
have an office job. They can work in sales. I have my best friend who's a chef. Who cosplays as well, and then my other best friend, she's a manager for a large retail operation. So it's a very, very diverse community.
Okay. And how did you get into that?
I actually, luckily, one of my friends invited me to a con. I'm based out of Miami, and
Uh,
this was in 2014. Because before that, I had been a professional makeup artist. I worked with different photographers. And I think my friends saw that I was into all these things. And also, I've always been a really, really big nerd. Like, I loved comic books, X-Men,
okay.
like, ever since I was like a child because I'm a 90s kid. So I
Mhm.
grew up with all those cartoons, the X-Men cartoons, the
Yeah.
Batman cartoons. I used to collect cards. I was a real, real nerd. So my friend knew me like in the closet that I was into all these things. And he's like, hey, there's a community. I really think you would have a lot of fun. So I attended the con and I didn't know about cosplay. I had no clue. The only thing I heard about cosplay, I thought it was more for like people who were into Star Wars or Star Trek.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like other fandoms as well. So until like I went to the con and I saw everyone, I was just like, wow, this is so cool. This looks so much fun. And 5 years later, here I am.
Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned you were a professional makeup artist. I do makeup too.
Oh,
Not like
okay.
professional, but it is like my little side hustle, and I have a makeup channel and I do makeup on myself mainly. So yes.
That's why you look so glamorous today.
Well, actually, I'm not even wearing anything besides some eyeliner and lipstick today, but usually I go full out, glam.
Yeah, that's what's great about cosplay. I always joke around that I'm an extreme person.
Hmm.
I either look like a gym rat or a hooker. I said there's no in between. There's no in between.
I feel you. That's really cool. Okay, so I want to get now into your family background. So I did watch your video, and so you said so your mom is the one that is of Lebanese descent, right? And then your father.
She's of Lebanese descent, but she was born and raised in Haiti. Her parents were also born in. Well, actually, her grandmother was born. Well, my grandmother, I mean, was born in Haiti,
Okay.
and my grandfather, even though he was of Lebanese descent, was actually born in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's so she's wait, I would say first. Yes, second generation Haitian.
Okay. Wow, that's so interesting. Do you know kind of the reason why they ended up going to the island? And why
I
this?
think during those times, this was like the early 1900s, you know, the Middle East has always been a place of unrest, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of, you know, Arabs left for the Caribbean or South America for
Yeah.
just to find a better life.
Mm-hmm.
Especially our family who was Christian, they left.
Mm. Oh, so they were Christian Arabs. Is that,
Yeah,
you think that's part of the reason also that they left?
probably,
Mm-hmm.
probably a part of it.
Okay. Okay. And then your father, he's what you would consider like a Black African descent Haitian?
He is, well, it's interesting. He is mixed, you know. He's, of course, he's more on, you know, what considered the Afro side, more
Mm-hmm.
black, you
Yeah.
know, what we would call mulatto. I know some people find that offensive, but on the island, and not necessarily, that's not necessarily an offensive word. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it is in the Dominican Republic, but in Haiti, that's
Right.
not an offensive word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would call them a mulat. That was my father. You
Okay.
know, his father was black. His mother was mixed. His mother was actually Dominican, so
Oh,
she was a mixed race, yes.
okay.
So there's a lot of close ties. It's, you know, when you're in the same
Yeah,
island, you're gonna have a lot of mixing.
exactly. Wow, so you're multicultural just on all ends.
Yeah. No, that's why like when people ask me, I'm like, oh, okay, sit down. This is gonna be a while for me to explain everything.
That's so interesting. So I'm assuming you've been to Haiti, like,
Yes, I've been to Haiti and I've been to Dominican Republic.
okay, so let me start asking you about your experience in Haiti. Have you been there like a bunch of times, like throughout your
I
life?
used to go a lot when I was younger, when I was a child.
Okay.
The last time I've been to Haiti, I think I was 16, and that's like 100 years ago. You know, this is like in the 2000s, like the early 2000s. So
Okay.
it's been a while.
Okay. It's probably going like 15 or so years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay. So how, well, from what you remember, how was your experience there? Because I feel like, we are usually portrayed a certain image of Haiti. We always hear, oh, that Haiti is so poor and, they're the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And like those are like the images that we see. But I know, of course, that there are, nicer parts of Haiti. And like the other thing is like not everyone is Black. There are mixed race
Right.
heritage
That's
people
like
in Haiti.
another miss. Well, of course, most people are black.
Yeah.
That, of course, that is the majority. But the
Right.
fact that they don't realize there are other people there, you
Mm-hmm.
know, there are natives on the island. I don't, excuse me if I pronounce it correct. Tayano, like, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it correctly. There are Indians. They were there first on the island, on
Yeah.
both sides of the island.
Right.
You know, there's of course the Arabs who migrated to Haiti, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and especially like in the 1900s, you get a lot of Europeans who moved in, or people from Canada who moved and started businesses there. You know,
Mm.
there's a diverse amount, a group of people
Yeah.
who live there.
Okay, interesting. So how was your experience being there compared to where you live now? I mean, there's a lot of Haitians in Miami though, right?
Yeah, I lived. I was born and raised in New York,
Oh,
and in my teens, I moved to Miami. So I was always around Haitian culture my whole life.
okay.
So I've always been around Haitian people, like
Hmm.
as long as I know, you
Yeah,
know. So I'm very, very immersed in the culture every single day.
gotcha. Okay, that's like similar to me. I was born and raised here in Virginia, but I've always been surrounded by Dominicans. Mainly Dominicans from DR. So I
Hmm.
grew up in like that same way, just very immersed in the culture. So I never felt too much of a disconnect from Dominicans that are on
Oh
the
yeah, no, you definitely feel. Of course, I feel American,
island.
but I feel there's this whole part of me that's like distinctually Haitian,
Yeah.
because a lot of my family's here, their friends are here. Um, my family, we own a bakery, so it caters to the Haitian community. So, like I said, I've been around Haitian people my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm assuming then when you would go to Haiti, it wasn't too much of like a culture shock or anything like that.
Not the people, not the
Mhm.
culture.
Yeah.
Like if you come from like New York, of course, going to a tropical island is going to be completely, completely different.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot different. You know, there's some luxuries you do have to live without. You know, people
Mhm.
do get electricity from generators. You know, you have to turn on the generator to get hot water. You know,
Yeah.
there's little luxuries you don't appreciate while you live here when you go, you know, travel abroad.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, same for when I go to DR. I mean, my family, we have a house there now, but I totally relate to you when the power goes out. Hopefully you have a generator in the house,
Right.
electricity going, but the whole water, or a lot of houses don't have hot water still. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely a change. As far as like the standard of living, I guess you could say.
I think it depends. It depends who you are. You
Mm,
know what I mean? You know, my family, I'm not going to lie, a lot of them are very well off, you
mm,
know? So they can afford to have a generator, you
yeah.
know? And a lot of them live on the mountains where it's actually the weather is a lot nicer, you know, it's a lot cooler.
Mm,
You don't need as much up
okay.
there, you know? So it's like, I would say any country. I think it's very unfair how the media portrays Haiti
Hmm.
because everywhere has their poor area. Even
Yeah.
in the United States,
Yeah.
like in Miami, I could show you South Beach with all this money and all this luxury, but 2 miles away, we could go to Overtown where it's almost practically the projects. You know
Mm,
what I mean? It's
yeah.
just not right, you know? Because when you go to Haiti, there is a lot of natural beauty, like untapped natural beauty. We have
Mm,
very beautiful beaches.
yeah.
We are mountainous. I don't know if people realize Haiti is mountainous. There's a lot of green mountains, and you see these animals, goats roaming around. You know, there's a lot of, you know, greenery. It's actually very, very beautiful country.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I always hear about the deforestation of Haiti, and people make it seem like I don't know, they like I see these side by side pictures of DR and Haiti, and it's like DR is all green and Haiti looks like sand color. So I mean, so would you say then that that is not representative of most of Haiti? Like I'm assuming there are those deforested areas, but most of it is actually green and vegetated.
I like I said, I think it depends where you're from. You know,
Oh,
it's kind of unfair to just focus on one area and
mhm.
then claim it as it being like that everywhere. You
Okay,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and yeah, as far as it being very mountainous, that's something I've kind of been realizing too. Like, I mean, DR has a lot of mountains too, but Haiti seems is most of the country just hills.
There's a lot of hills. Like my family, we live in Keskov, where it's like very steep, but yeah, Haiti is very mountainous. You
Hmm.
know, very mountainous terrain.
Yeah. Okay. So, going back to you mentioned like how your family's very well off. I did have a Haitian person on one of my recent live streams, and they talked about like classism in Haiti and how that you can see that like it's I don't know. I
Oh
guess
yeah, very much so. You
uh-huh.
know, very much so. You could see a distinction between those who live in poverty versus those who are the elite. You know, there's a big distinction. You
Mhm.
know, I would think the unfortunate thing is there's not necessarily really a middle class. I feel like in the Dominican Republic over the years I've seen like a really strong middle class emerge,
Ask you
and
next.
I've yet to really see that in Haiti.
Okay. Gotcha. Interesting. Um, so you said you've been to DR.
Yes.
Have you been a lot of times over there?
Oh, I've been so many places. I've, of course, been to the capital. I've been to Puerto Plata. I've been to Semana. I've been
Yeah.
to Romana. I've been to a lot of places
Okay.
in Dominican Republic.
Okay. So it's just kind of like you just decided to vacation and go.
Yeah, that was pretty much my like family vacations with my mom and father. When my father was, you know, still here,
Okay.
we would go like in the summers to the Dominican Republic for like 2, 3 weeks.
Okay. Nice. So what would you say were some of the biggest differences you've seen between DR and Haiti, be it like the country itself or like the culture? I mean, I know, of course, the language is probably one of the biggest
Well,
differences.
yeah, the language for
Mhm.
sure. You know, in Haiti, the official language is French. That's what's taught in schools.
Mhm.
But amongst each other, we do speak Creole. I
Okay.
feel like it's the more familiar language. It's what you talk with your friends and your family.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like I feel you come off a little stuck up if you start speaking French to someone. It's almost like you're
Really?
showing off. You
Oh.
know, in a way, it's interesting. It's kind of like you're trying to be like, you know, like, oh, look at me,
Yeah.
you know. And maybe that's a part of classism in itself, you know, trying to show, oh, look how educated I am, look how elite I am. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it
Yeah.
comes off that way over there. Dominicans, like, it's very different. It's different. Like, the one thing I did notice is just how happy the
Mm,
Dominican people are. They're very happy.
yeah.
They're about get-togethers. They're about having a very good time. I've noticed that a lot, especially every time I go to the DR. It's always very fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, we love to just party and have fun.
Yes, for sure.
Here, my family's literally been having parties like every weekend. So my Instagram followers are like, is it just me or do y'all stay partying?
Oh,
That's
that's my neighbors. That's my neighbors. I live in Miami. I think it's just Latin culture because they literally they sound like they have a DJ every Saturday. My neighbors. It's
yeah.
crazy how loud they are.
Yep. Yep. Speaking of that, do you consider yourself Latina? Because that's another thing I've seen some people talk about, like, are Haitians Latino or not? Because some people say that y'all are, because I mean you're still like a descendant of, the French who are Latin, whatever. But do you consider yourself Latina?
You know, that's very interesting. People who bring this up to me are not Haitian. That's what I always notice. They're
Hmm,
never Haitian people who bring
interesting.
this up to me because I have never known a Haitian who consider themselves Latino or Latin. Like,
Hmm,
I haven't even seen them use that word in
interesting.
Creole. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what kind of word they would use because whenever they talk about someone of like Latino or Hispanic heritage, we call them Payol, which pretty much means like Spanish. You know what I mean? Anyone, like whether you're Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, Colombian, you're Payol. And we don't consider ourselves Payol. So it's very interesting, you know. And when they bring that subject to me, I don't know what to say because I personally have never heard any Haitian person claim to be Hispanic. Never in my life.
Okay. Because I know like there's been a lot of conversation lately and in recent years as far as making a distinction between being Hispanic and being Latino. So
Yeah.
Latino now would also include the French speaking and the Portuguese speaking, like the Brazilians. So
Hmm.
they are considered Latino but not Hispanic. So I guess that's why Haitians are also being brought into the conversation.
I think it's interesting. You know, personally, I don't understand it because I live within the culture and I don't hear this conversation. I
Mhm.
really feel the like if they're in the Haitian community, they're Haitian American. They're not people who are born and raised in Haiti bringing this up. You know,
Okay.
like no offense if you are born and raised and you feel that way. I have personally not met anyone who was born and raised in Haiti and had that sentiment.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Going back to your heritage though, um, do you like has your family retained any of like those original like Lebanese customs or traditions that your great grandparents brought?
Great parents,
Hmm.
great grandparents, yeah.
Yeah.
The I think the biggest tragedy with them moving to Haiti, the thing with Lebanon is there's two languages. They speak Arabic and they speak French. So they brought
Oh.
French to Haiti, so it was the language they already knew. What's
Mm.
unfortunate is they did not pass down the Arabic to my grandmother
Mm.
or her siblings. So
Okay.
that in itself is unfortunate to lose a language
Hmm.
to your descendants.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Hmm.
What they did pass is the food. You know,
Okay.
my great grandmother taught my grandmother who taught my mom how to make Lebanese food, and we have that on the holidays. They'll
Oh,
make Arabic food on the holidays.
interesting. Okay. I know in DR they have a dish called kipe, which is
Oh, kibi? Yeah, kibi. It's like meat and couscous kind
uh-huh.
of thing.
Yeah. Have that
Yeah,
thing.
that's Lebanese. That's definitely Arabic.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting because when we talk about the different groups in Latin America, I feel like a lot of times like the Arabs that came are kind of left out of the conversation. And
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they don't talk about it because there
yeah,
are a lot of Arabs, especially in Latin America, like South
mhm,
America. There's a lot of Arabs. There was a lot of Arab migration. I don't know why they don't. I think people who live there know. I think people who don't live there necessarily don't know because the media does not portray them.
right.
Like they don't show that they're there. You
Hmm.
know.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very true. I'm actually going to be working on a video because I do like cultural historical videos too sometimes, and I am going to be doing a video about the Arabs that migrated in Latin America. Yeah, and going back to Haiti is like people think it's like only Black people there, but
Oh
that's
yeah, there's definitely other nationalities that live there.
mm, yeah. So when people find out that you're Haitian, do they ever look surprised or shocked because of the fact that you're like, you're lighter skinned and you
Oh,
don't
they never think I'm Haitian.
the typical Black Haitian?
They never think I'm Haitian. They're like, "What?" Even Haitian people. I'm
Oh,
speaking Creole to them.
uh-huh.
And they're just like, why is this Payal speaking Creole? They
Yeah.
just think I'm Latin. They're like, "Oh, that's nice. You know Creole. Good for you." And I'm like, I'm not Latin." you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like even at my family's bakery, they're always like, "Oh, you know, why is this white person here?" And I'm like, "I'm not white. I'm Haitian. What are you guys even telling me? I'm Haitian. I'm not white."
Hmm.
It is what it is, you know.
Right. That's why, and it's like I feel like people really need to either travel more or just educate themselves more when it comes to like other countries of the world. And it's not to bash Americans because I am American by nationality, but I feel like sometimes we're very just in our bubble.
Oh
And
yeah, they only see the world through the eyes of the 50 states. They don't see it outside.
right. And it's like people really don't take the time to kind of, I don't know, try and learn the histories of other countries. And I feel like, especially when it comes to the Caribbean and Latin America, it's like I mean, that whole area of the world is just such a melting pot of so
Oh
many.
yeah.
It's really not just black and white. And it's like people don't realize that apart from the enslaved Africans and like the colonizers, there were a bunch of Arabs. There were a lot of Asians, Oriental
Yeah,
Asians.
and of course the natives, the Indians that were originally there.
Yeah, of course them. You had your Indian, like your South Asians that went especially to the Caribbean. So I mean, you've literally had people from all over the world settle in these regions. And our island, Hispaniola, has had people from all of these areas as well.
And that's why I took the DNA test
Hmm.
because I knew that I could be anything because I've got a lot of people who ask me if I'm part Asian and I was like, I don't know. Or am I part native? And I was like, I don't know. So I took the test. And it was pretty straightforward. And actually, my results actually changed because they update your results.
Yeah,
So I was actually 53% Lebanese. A lot of the European countries kind of got knocked out. I'm not sure why. I guess because I have a lot of blood in the Mediterranean area.
yeah.
So I guess they assumed more countries than it was. So
Mm,
it was like 53% Lebanese, about 38% West African,
okay.
and the rest was, the typical Europeans, Spain and France, which
Yeah.
is our colonizers, pretty much our colonizers.
Hmm. Yeah, I did one too. And mine, I mean, I've done a couple. I did the Ancestry, 23andMe. I did this one site called GenNet. Um, so I mean, like you, my countries did kind of change as far as the percentages, but one thing that's remained pretty constant throughout all of the tests is like the overall amount of African versus European
Yeah.
native DNA. So my African DNA is always between like 50 to like 52%. And then my European is like between 35 to 40, and then the remaining like 8% is like Native American.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing we don't talk about because people might look at both of us and be like, "You're not black,"
Mm,
And you want to know something? I understand the privilege of being light skinned. I absolutely understand it. Yes, people who are mixed have their go through their own thing. That whole thing of not really feeling like you fit anywhere.
yeah.
Because people don't know how to classify you, if
Mhm.
that makes any sense, and kind of feeling a little alienated. Like I said, I'm Haitian, and having Haitian people tell me I'm not Haitian,
Yeah.
it can be frustrating, especially if you grew up in the culture, you speak the language and everything. It could be incredibly frustrating, but at the same time, we have to address the anti-blackness and the colorism, because a lot of people who look like us deny their black heritage, and that's a problem. And that's why it festers a lot of self-hate. I got comments, I remember in my video, I felt like by putting out my black ancestry, it's almost like outing other people who look like me, who are kind of playing like, oh no, I'm not black, I'm not black. For me to be like, yeah, I'm 38% black, it's almost outing them. Does that make sense? So they feel a certain type of way,
Mhm.
and they wrote comments like, oh no, your father's not black. And I was just like, I'm literally reading you these results and you're telling me my father's not black. They're like, no, your father's mulatto. I'm like, what is the difference? Like, a lighter shade of black? He's still a black man. I don't understand. What kind of back and forth you're trying to have with me?
Yeah. Oh no, trust me, I know when it comes to the DNA videos, people, I don't know what it is, but they go on there telling you what you are, telling you
Yes.
what it is. It's
Yes,
like,
they're mad. They're just reading results.
yeah.
I'm not putting my spin, I'm not putting my flavor, I'm not putting anything in it. It is what it is. My
Mhm.
results tell me that I'm Afro Haitian.
Yeah.
Maybe the way I look, you don't accept it, but it is what it is. And that's one thing growing up, being looking the way I look, I don't depend on how people see me to validate my who I am as a person. That was another reason I took the DNA test. Like, oh look, hello, pretty,
Oh,
hey.
why is the video bombing me right now?
I have my baby too.
Oh
He's a
yeah.
good baby.
Ah.
My left
Yeah.
the whole time. What I was saying is, some of the salty comments I got on my video, which were just to me strange. The reason I did the video, it was to be completely transparent
Yeah.
of who I was, what was my ancestry,
Yeah.
because people are like, oh, what do they call it? Um, what do they call it? I forget that word. Like, how you see yourself. What's that word again? Because a lot of times it's like either related to gender orientation or race. How I forget the word pretty much. It's like it's kind of like saying, how do you see yourself?
Okay.
And I pretty much, this is just me. I'm like, this is who I am. I'm these things. Whether you accept it or not is not my problem,
Mhm.
because it is what it is. I
Mhm.
don't need you to see me as a black person or not see me as a black person. Like, I
Yeah.
am who I am. I'm completely 100% transparent.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, it's not my problem.
Right.
God made me who I am, and my parents are my parents, and I can't change that.
Right. Yeah, I completely understand. And it's interesting, like you said, how you perceive yourself, but then how others perceive you.
Oh yeah,
Because I don't know, I get mixed
actions, like mixed
yeah.
reactions.
Because okay, so growing up, like I've said this a billion times on my channel, like my parents never talked to me about race. So my knowing I was black or whatever came from me comparing myself to African Americans because I felt like, well, I look like them. So let me put that I'm black too. So that's kind of
Right.
how I learned that, I guess you could say. But since being on YouTube, I've had a lot more different reactions. Well, you're brown, but I wouldn't really call you black. Like you still look like you're mixed. You're just a mixed darker skinned person. But then I get those who are like, nah, you're black. You're black. So I don't know. It's just very interesting how other people view us or how they can see different. I don't know whether it's in your features or your hair
Right.
or whatever it is. They can kind of point out, okay, this is from your African ancestry. This is from your European ancestry, and things like that.
No, I absolutely understand.
Hmm.
Because most people don't off the bat see me as black until
Yeah.
I tell them, that I have black ancestry. And even then it's like mix. Either they just don't accept it, it is, they just don't.
Yeah.
And I can't do anything about it except be transparent. I'm not going to hide I'm not anti-black. I'm not going to hide my ancestry. I am who I am.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't have a problem with it. It's usually other people who have a problem with it, and
Mhm.
I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, I don't know. People, I don't know. I feel it's their own insecurities that they're projecting onto you.
Yes. Right.
Their own issues that they're
I,
projecting onto you. That's
mhm.
what I think.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree with that. People that are really in the business of policing other people's identities and really policing other people's blackness, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like half the time it's like they're projecting, or like you
Oh
said,
yeah.
it's like their own insecurities.
Oh yeah, they're projecting completely because I was the same as you. Growing up, no one spoke about race. We were just Haitian. You
Yeah.
know, like even though my mom is like this little Arabic lady, when you see her, she's the most Haitian person you ever meet. She is so loud. Like she's so
So,
loud.
that's
She's like every like Haitian mother stereotype into one. It's
really,
my
oh
mother.
my
Yeah, like every time they make fun, I'm like, bro, that's my mom.
gosh.
She is super Haitian.
That's so funny. Wow. And that's another thing too, like when you grow up kind of just identifying by your culture or your nationality, and but people take that as you're trying to deny your race by doing that. I don't know.
It's weird because I feel like I'm like very ambiguous.
Mhm.
So people just don't assign a race to me.
Yeah.
I'm like this unassigned race,
Mhm.
So it's even weird because, like I said, I couldn't be like, oh, I'm this.
Yeah.
Like I have white kids asking me when I was getting. I was raised in New York. I went to private school, so the white kids in my class would be like, "What race are you?" Because we know you're not white. You have curly hair. We know you're not white. But then the black kids would be like, "What are you?" like, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Imagine you're like 6, 7. You're like, I don't know. My family's Haitian. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't know."
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, but I mean that I think that is a benefit though, at least now that we can do DNA tests, even though a lot of people say they're fake and stuff. But I don't know. I think they're kind of accurate. I
I
don't
think
know.
it was pretty spot on. If
Yeah.
anything, my grandmother told me that. Oh, it was funny because like there's an expression in Haiti when they think you've like wasted money. They're like, "Oh, you had money. Like, oh, you must have had a lot of money on you to go waste it." That's
Mm.
how like my mom and my grandma. Because when I told them I was taking the test, they were like, "Why?" They're like, "Wow, you had money to waste. Like, why?" I got the results, and technically, it was kind of a waste because my mom's side is 100% Arabic, which was proven.
Yeah.
My dad is black, of course, with a little bit of European, which was so technically they were right. It was exactly what they thought. They thought it was just silly, to be honest. They were just like why? Like we could have told you what you were. But the only thing was seeing the actually distinct African countries that I
Yeah.
was part of. That was interesting because if
Yeah.
I didn't do it, I would have not known.
Right. And that's what I was kind of most curious about too, because I knew my as far as my European ancestry goes, I mean, I got a lot of different countries, but I knew obviously Spanish was going to be there,
Right.
especially because my mom's dad was fully Spanish. So I knew, that would be there, and probably Portuguese or something. But I was curious though to see what the African countries would be. But that I feel like those are always changing, or they're I don't know how accurate
Yes.
it is.
When my DNA test updated, the African countries completely shifted order, and some of them
Mm,
completely disappeared.
yeah.
So that was like the biggest change in my DNA test.
Hmm.
Was it shifting to me being more Arabic? I guess I'm just hella Arabic because it went from 48 to 53%. I'm hella Arabic.
Yeah.
But yeah, because originally In my original results, it was another country, and then when I got it back, the one with the highest percentage ended up being Nigeria when I got the new results. So it isn't a perfect science. I think it gives you like a good guesstimate
Yeah.
of what you are.
Right. Yeah. I think my highest were Cameroon, Congo. That did remain the same. Like that was like my highest African
Yeah.
percentage. Cameroon, Congo, and Benin and Togo, I think.
Yeah, that was originally the one that was originally highest for me, and then it swapped with Nigeria, which I thought was interesting. I was like, oh, okay. But what was interesting about taking the test, I thought maybe by knowing these countries, I would feel more of a closer connection to those countries.
Yeah.
And then I realized they're completely foreign to me. My culture is Haiti.
Yeah.
Haiti is my culture.
Yeah.
Any African experience I have is from Haiti. Not from the actual motherland, but what has passed through years and
Right.
customs within that island.
Right. No, I can relate to that too. Like I've recently started looking a little more at like contemporary African culture and like, listening to Afro beats and stuff like that. But I can relate in that my connection to my African ancestry has been through the Dominic or the aspects of Dominican culture that have like retained those African elements. So when I hear like follow music or like when I hear just like I don't know, just certain aspects of Dominican culture that
Right.
this came from the African, that is how I relate to that side of my ancestry.
Yeah, I absolutely understand. And with Haiti, with us having Creole, I feel that's a touch to our African roots. Because, back in the day, the slaves created this own language so that the colonizers couldn't understand them.
Mm,
So that became our language,
yeah,
and it's passed down even till today.
yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so the other big misconception is that like all Haitians do voodoo. Are you familiar at all with voodoo? Like, do you know anyone that
I
practices?
don't do voodoo, but it is very popular. I'm not going to lie. There
Mm,
are a lot of Haitians who do voodoo.
okay,
I'm not going to lie. I don't partake in that, but there are people who do.
okay, okay. Because statistically, the country is mainly Catholic, right?
It's mainly Christian,
Okay,
but even though there are people who are Christian and do dabble
yeah.
in the voodoo culture,
Mhm.
definitely not my family, but it is there. I'm not gonna lie, it is there.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Yeah, no, same with Dominicans too. I mean, the majority of Dominicans, are Christian and Catholic, but you can definitely see the little elements like reading coffee cups. I don't know if you ever heard of that. My mom
I've
used.
heard of that, yes.
Yeah, they're reading the coffee stains on the cup and like, lighting all the different candles and just little things. I was like,
Right.
this comes more from like the African spiritual.
Yeah, and you can see that not just Haiti, Dominican Republic, you see that in Cuba.
Yeah, definitely. Cuba.
Yeah, so yeah, it is. It comes back to that African folklore.
Yeah. Mhm. So my last video before this one, no, my second to last video. Yeah. I did a video. Actually one of my Haitian subscribers had requested if I could talk about my thoughts on whether DR and Haiti should unite as one country. My opinion was no. I don't think that we should. Could we form a better relationship? Yes. But I feel like we have our distinct cultures and our distinct histories and even though we share the same island, I feel like Haitians are their own distinct people and Dominicans are their own distinct people. So I don't know. That was kind of like my opinion on it. Like, what would you say to that? Like,
I agree. I agree. I don't. It's two distinct countries. It's like saying Canada should merge with the United States or Mexico should merge with the United States because they're connected to each other. They're two distinct cultures, two distinct people. What I could say is we can definitely work on relationship between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Because to admit we do have a rocky history with each other.
yeah,
We have very, very, very rocky history with each other,
right,
and it wouldn't hurt to just be better towards each other, because there's been definitely some back and forth.
yeah,
There is definitely some anti-blackness
mm-hmm,
between both countries, that need to be addressed.
mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And that's something else I've tried explaining on my channel a few times because I don't know, people aren't very educated on our history and they don't realize that like, yo, this goes like back.
This goes
Like,
back a very long time.
yeah, like it's not just oh Dominicans don't like Haitians because they're black. Like hello, a lot of us are black too. Like it's not just that. Like there is a lot of just things that happened between both.
Yeah, there's a ton of sour blood
Yeah.
between both countries for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, but like maybe it'll take us younger people to kind of I don't know try and change the sentiment that we have with each other. I don't know,
I
but
think younger people, I think, are more open minded. But the
yes,
unfortunate thing is, a lot of younger people leave the country to go to other countries to study and live.
yeah,
So the people who are open minded leave. So you
yeah,
leave the people who are stuck in their ways there. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So it's very hard to ask for change when really it has to change on the government level. And I really don't see that happening in both countries.
right. Both countries have corrupt governments, and both
Yes, I
countries
just don't
have
see it.
experienced a lot of foreign intervention, and especially Haiti. Like
Oh,
that's
yes.
one thing I've learned as far as the Haitian, like the corruption in the state of the country. Like it's had so much foreign people meddling, and I don't know. I feel like that's contributed to why the country hasn't been able to like evolve more economically and stuff.
It's tough. It's really, really tough. It's a lot of things going on in the country. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of conflicting interests. You know, it's like it's its own topic in itself. You
yeah,
know, that we couldn't even discuss within a couple minutes. It's its
right,
own thing. You know, it's very unfortunate because Haiti does have the resources and the workforce to prosper. It's just, you
yeah,
know, when you don't have, you know, people who care about, they put themselves before their country, you're going to get situations like this.
yeah. Yeah, no, you're right about that. And I always think to myself, like, you know, tourism is such a huge thing in DR. Like, why can't it be a huge thing in Haiti? Like, we're literally on the same island. Like, the same beautiful beaches,
Right.
mountains, and rivers that are in DR are in Haiti. So I don't know. Why is it that I don't
Like
know?
I said, you know, it's the people in charge. You know, when you put your own self-interest above, you know, your country, this is what happens because at least other crooked people are like, "Oh, well, if at least I do this, it will generate more money and benefit more people and I'll make more money at the end." I think maybe the people in Haiti are a little bit more short-sighted at the end of the day. I don't
Hmm,
know what to say.
yeah, yeah, gotcha. That was pretty much all the questions that I had. So, I don't know if you had any additional last remarks or if you had any questions for me or any statements you wanted to say to the audience.
I think we covered a lot. I think we covered, you know, everything I could think of, you
Hmm.
know, and pretty much I think it's what we could end on is just that people be more open-minded,
Yes.
educate themselves
Yes.
before they spew their saltiness at people, you know, because I made this video like thinking nothing of it, you know? And I got so many salty comments where I was just like taken aback.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone who's personally experienced prejudice on the daily because I do live in Miami and I look like most of the people who live here. You know, I look Latina,
Yeah.
so this is, you know, and the majority of the people who live here in Miami are Latino, Latina.
Yeah.
So I don't get that any really a dose of prejudice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So having this on the internet, I kind of got that taste of people being prejudiced
Hmm.
towards me for
Yeah.
just speaking the truth about who I am. But also, I got way more outpour of love that
Yeah.
people really appreciate me speaking about this because there's people who are experiencing the same thing as me.
Mhm.
They may not be Haitian, but they experience not necessarily looking like the culture that, you know, that they're a part of and
Yeah.
how that may feel.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think it came out to having a lot more meaning than I expected. And it
Mhm.
also helped me look in within myself You know, because it's very interesting. It's one more thing to look at yourself, but it's another thing when you how the world looks back at you to
Yeah.
kind of experience that as well. And
Right.
that's what happens when you put stuff on the internet. You know, you are gonna get a lot of people with a lot of opinions about you.
Yes. Oh, trust me, I understand. That was, I mean, before I put my ancestry video, I already knew. At that time, my channel was mainly makeup, but I had watched a bunch of Dominican ancestry videos, and I had already seen the back and forth in the comments between Dominicans and like mainly, other Black people. So I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God. So
Yeah,
I was
I try not to delete anything that's like overtly racist, you know, because I
like,
don't like that kind of back and forth. Because it's one thing to have a legitimate criticism, you know, like people saying I mispronounced things. Oh, you got this wrong. I keep those there. You know what I mean? Because that's a legitimate criticism.
yeah.
But but people going into a whole anti-black rant, you know, keep that on your own, timeline. You know, I don't need your hateful spewing on my page.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's another thing too, knowing which comments to delete and which ones to not. I mean, sometimes I'll keep certain stupid comments on under my videos, and sometimes I'll try not to engage. Other times I'm like, oh hell no. Then I, I get into the back and forth with the person.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna leave this there so my subscribers can attack them because
Right. I try not to because it's I don't want to attract negativity because I feel that's what they want. They want a
yeah.
reaction.
Hmm.
When they leave overtly just nasty, like stupid things that what is me and you gonna discuss? That that you're an idiot, like and you're a racist. What am I gonna discuss with you? You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna delete it. You know, and plus you're not leaving it for the world, you're leaving it for me. That's what I assume. Didn't you leave it for me to read, not for the world to read?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I keep most of them up. I only like it has to be you have to be really, really idiotic for me to delete your comment. You
Yeah.
know, I even kept the comments where people well so one person said I looked sweaty. I go, that's fine. You could stay there. You know, like people with their
Lord.
crazy comments.
Yeah. That's another thing. Being a female, people tear your looks up.
Oh yes. Especially I'm in cosplay. You
Mm.
know, I could see like just little things like because me and my husband cosplay together and we build things together. Like I'll remember like one cosplay, like he got so much love, you know? But if a girl does something, you'll get love, but you also get hate,
Mhm.
like extreme hate, where people are like, this is horrible. And you're like, it's just a costume, Jesus Christ. You
Yeah.
didn't pay for this. Why are
Right.
you so mad?
That's like when me getting comments from certain men, like, why so much makeup? Why you got so much makeup on? Like, why you care, bro? Like,
Like,
I
yes, why do you care so much? Like, I don't know. Yeah, they people are funny. I don't know what to say. I try not to let it affect me. I try to find the humor in it. And
yeah,
I like whenever I read those comments, I read it in like a scratchy voice, like, and it kind of makes me laugh, like, oh, why did you do that? And it makes me laugh because that's what it sounds like in my head, the way they're talking to me.
yeah.
So I just try to, not let it phase me and just find the amusement in it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, well, so we will be ending the interview here. I want to thank you for taking the time to this interview with me. I think this was really good. I had a lot of fun talking with you.
Thank
So
you.
to
Likewise.
everyone,
Thank you for inviting me. This was fun.
yes. So to everyone watching, if you're into cosplay, definitely check her channel out. I will leave the link to her Instagram as well in the description box and in my pinned comments. So once again, thank you. Thank you to everyone who watched, and I'll check you guys in my next video. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Dolce. Bye.
Bye.